Welcome to another episode of WTF. Welcome to Friday, or what the take your pick. I can let you choose how your week's gone. I am Cheryl Pankhurst, the host of WTF and the host of Parenting Teens Advice Redefined for Today's World. This is the spinoff. Parenting Teens Advice is the interviews where I have experts on talking about all things teens, all things tough, all the big challenges, and typically all the topics you may not have known you needed help with. And WTF is the riff. I get to say whatever I want, talk about whatever I think is important and timely. And right now, it is May, the most wonderful time of the year for those who are ready to go to high school. For those parents whose kids don't have challenges with transition or schedules or familiarity, then it's the most wonderful time of the year. But if you're a parent watching these parents get all excited about high school and cut the cord and I don't have to worry about them anymore and they've got this, and then you've got a kid who's watching their peers get all excited for high school and decide on the clubs and the sports and what they're going to join and where they're going to hang out and who their friends are, and not worried at all. This changes the game for us, and it's so hard to watch. And I find that in my years of doing transition planning and transitions, the grade 9 information night in high school, what I noticed and where I started filling the gap when I was in the school was that parents were not getting enough information early enough in order to help their kids with an IEP transition to high school. It is a much bigger deal than we actually give it credit for. So I'm going to dive deep into this transition checklist. What I'm going to tell you is on my website, cherylpankhurst.com, you will find this resource that you can download. You can fill it out. It's got everything that I'm talking about today, maybe even more detail. On my website is also a ton of resources, free resources, paid resources to help you get through this process and the other challenges that come with neurodivergence. And there's also a complimentary call. You can click the calendar link there, book a complimentary call, and we can get on the phone or get on a Zoom call, and we can talk about what's going on, what your goals are, and how I can help you. So lots of ways to help, but let's start with, this is May, and I want to talk about, first of all, if you have not had any kind of transition planning with your grade 8 school, this is a time to really start asking some questions. And so if your kid already has an IEP, then it is a legal requirement for that IEP to also have a transition plan attached to it. And if you have not had a call about this transition plan, then anything can go on the plan and you have no idea what it is. And so you're going to go into grade 9, your kid's going to go into grade 9, and there's this generic drop-down menu plan, which is not the case all the time, but I want you to be aware that there's the transition plan must go with your kid. On it, you will see something like grade 8 to grade 9 transition. Then you should see specific goals on this transition, where you know and where the teacher from grade 8 knows your kid is going to struggle. How are we going to help them through that struggle? And specifically, who is going to help them through that struggle? And what is the timeline for the struggle? So, for example, if your kid has a challenge with spatial awareness, so you're thinking you're going to go into the school, have no idea where to go, get lost, and they're petrified they're going to get lost. Listen, we were all scared to get lost in high school. This just adds another level to it. So what the transition plan might say is, the goal for Joey is within 3 weeks, Joey should be able to navigate the entire school map of where he walks in the front door, what locker he goes to, what classes he goes to, cafeteria, library, main office, inclusive services. So that's a lot to do for a kid who struggles with spatial awareness or working memory. And so if that's the goal, that is specifically on the IEP transition plan. And then it's going to have the date. Well, by September 30th, Johnny will be able to. And how is this going to happen? Who is going to be responsible for helping? Well, you might have a special education teacher. You might have the head of the department. You might have somebody from the EA department, educational assistant or teacher's assistant. Someone may be assigned to helping Johnny. And what does that look like? Well, it might look like we're going to get his timetable printed off 2 weeks before school starts, or even better, before the end of June. And then Johnny and his support person, mentor, we can call it, doesn't have to be a support person, as mentor, they get to the school. Johnny walks in whatever door he would normally come in. They each have a copy of the timetable, and they go through the timetable from the front door to the locker, combination, first period, second period, and on and on. Now, it would start with the mentor doing it first and Johnny shadowing. Eventually, we would transition to Johnny doing it and the mentor shadowing until the goal is there. So that is one goal that might be on the IEP. It has the goal, it has who's responsible and the timeline. It doesn't mean they have to get there. It means that's the goal. We're going to measure this in 3 weeks and figure it out. Along with your transition plan, though, you can request a transition meeting. So what is that? To have a transition meeting, you have a representative from the grade 8 school, whether it's your CERT or a teacher that's been teaching Susie all 8 years, and someone who represents the high school. Could be the CERT, could be the head, could be another teacher. So you're going to get together, you're going to ask for a transition meeting, at which time you are going to create the transition plan together. So you know what's on it, you know what's manageable and not manageable, what makes sense. You might even have goals on there that the teacher's not thinking about, or the teacher, the CERT from grade 8 might have a goal that you're not thinking about. But with everyone at the table, now you have a team. You have Johnny's team, you have Susie's team, and you have very good understanding of what this transition plan actually looks like and how it can help your kid navigate the transition. I'm also going to say, I love that from kindergarten to grade 6 or 7, you are advocating for your kid. As parents, nobody advocates better for you, 1000%. But I want to say, once we get to grade 7, grade 8, instead of advocating for your kid, we now need to switch that to advocating with your kid. We need to start giving our kids the advocacy skills so they know eventually, I know it takes time, but eventually they know they have their own voice. As an advocate, my job is to work myself out of a job with you. So if a parent has hired me to support them with advocacy, my goal is that they don't need me forever. My goal is that eventually they don't need me at all, because first of all, they can do it and their kids can do it as well. So we work ourselves out of the job. And one way we can advocate with our kids is to make sure they understand their IEP. For so many kids, when I get to grade 8, the kid has not even seen their IEP, has no idea what's on it, what it actually means. This is so vital. Sit down with your kid and show them. This describes you on paper. This is how you learn. This is These are your super strengths. This is where you might need a little bit of help. Does this continue to make sense? Maybe there's things that were happening in grade 4, grade 5 accommodations that make zero sense for high school or make zero sense now that you can start changing. But if you're working with your kid on their IEP, number one, it gives them a voice. Number two, they understand that this just comes with them. This is, here's your birth certificate, here's your driver's license, here's your IEP, period. If we're hiding it and we're having these meetings without our kids, we're unintentionally creating some kind of shame. Like, why is it a secret? Why am I not empowering my kid to use what is his right or her right to use in school? So we need to shift our, I invite you, but you need to shift that mindset that, I don't want to talk bad about him. I don't want her to hear negative things. It's not how it works. And when you have any meetings from here on in about the IEP or anything about your kid is at the table. So when your kid sits down to an IEP meeting, the conversation naturally goes positive because your kid is sitting right there. No teacher, no cert is going to launch into all this negative uh, commentary. And if they do, that's a problem that we need to solve. So we want our kid to understand, memorize, know, be totally neutral about their IEP. Now, next, we want to identify a mentor. We can call it a safe person. If we're talking about a teenager now, they might want to call it a mentor in the school. So in your transition meeting, or even with a phone call or a meeting with the high school, can you ask them, I just need my kid to have someone, a go-to person. And that's really important. You want your kid to be able to walk in the front door of that school and know without a shadow of a doubt, totally memorize, know exactly where to go if they're in trouble. And by trouble, I mean if they're lost, if they're missing an assignment, if they really wanted to join the basketball team but have no idea how because they missed the announcements. Having a mentor in the school, and it could even be a grade 12 student who's getting their community service hours. I mean, your guidance department can choose this for you, or it can be someone like me, a head of department. It could be an EA, it can be anybody, but somebody that they know they're very familiar with before September 1st. So they know when they walk in the door, they don't panic because they're lost or they can't get their locker open and they go flying out the front door. It's happened that they have someone to go to or call from the office. So identifying one mentor at least within the school is going to ease so much tension and stress for your kid going in. And you, if your kid's stressed, you're stressed. So why not alleviate a lot of the stress ahead of time? You're going to build your familiarity with the school. What does that mean? You're going to have a transition meeting. Once you get the timetable, you are going to email the teachers and you're going to CC your kid because we're advocating with our kids. You're going to CC the kid and in the email, hey, I'm Jane. Johnny's my kid. He has an IEP. Here's a copy of the first page. This is where he would really struggle. This is what he's really worried about. He hates sitting in the back. Please don't center him out the first, whatever. Just getting to know the teacher and letting them know who your kid is and making that first introduction. Don't wait for the teacher to connect with you. You should do it first. That way you are already putting your kid on the radar. And yes, teachers must communicate with you 1000%, but there's going to be a lapse of time. And so if there's a lapse of time, then we need to be very cautious about, am I supposed to wait for the teacher to get a hold of me? No, just reach out, let them know who you are, who your kid is. Now they're on the radar. They know there's an IEP. So now there's no lag time. Perfect. And one very good question to ask the teacher would be that, how do you want to communicate? I would really appreciate some kind of check-in. There's nothing worse than the end of November and parents get a, oh, Mary has a 12%, has not handed anything in, is missing all her tests, and is now at a 12% midterm. And it's never been communicated with you. And again, yes, you should have that communication. But if there's a crack, if there's a slip, if something happens and you don't get that communication, the only person to suffer is your kid. So establish, can it be every Friday afternoon, a 2-second email, things went well, we have a test next week, she missed an art assignment, whatever it is, then you know at the end of every week you have something to, if a couple of weeks go by and you haven't had that, perfect. You're going to email the teacher and say, hey, missed the last check-in. Can we start this schedule again? It's really important to me. These things alleviate so much of a problem later. You don't want to be putting out fires later. You want to proactively set everybody up for success. You can, like I talked about with the mentor, you can request having the timetable printed off as early as possible. Some schools do it a couple weeks before the beginning of school. And that way your kid can have a look at who's my teacher, what room am I going to, what class am I taking, all of these being familiar. Put it up on the fridge. Ask for somebody to walk them through the school. And if you can, ask for someone, a mentor to do it, not mom, not dad. It would be really cool if they had their go-to person having them go walk through the halls and not get lost. Talking about the fear and excitement. Listen, we can assume all we want, what they're afraid of and what they're excited about. But unless we initiate these conversations with our kid, we're not going to know. And the very best way to do that, because as parents, we know nothing. We're born 45. We have no life experience. We're literally dumb. We know nothing about life. So if you sit down and say, I want to have a meeting with you and I want to talk about all your fears and all your excitement, good luck. And I want to tell you what I was afraid of, good luck. No, that's not how we do it. Offer to be the chauffeur from here on in. I'm telling you, this is the trick. If you can do it, if you can be the one to drive your kids and their friends as often as possible, wherever they're going, I'm telling you, this is where you get the best intel, because your kids get in a car with their friends and you no longer exist. You're invisible. The car's just going by itself. And they start talking about stuff. And if you want to know some information about a specific subject, then you just kind of drop a little breadcrumb. Oh man, high school. Whew, getting excited? Done. You don't have to say anything else. Now the vortex of the conversation is going on behind you. Again, they forget where you are and who you are and that you actually exist, which is great. And now you're going to get the information. So now you're going to have some really good understanding of what they're excited about, or maybe drop another breadcrumb. Yeah, but are you worried about anything? Oh man, when I was in school, just give them the breadcrumb. You're not engaging. You're just giving the breadcrumb and letting them go. So I promise, even if it means sitting in a parking lot for 2 hours reading your book or going to a movie by yourself while you're waiting, being the chauffeur is an absolute game changer. So if you can, I would highly recommend that. And I would say, once it starts, once the school day starts, the school year starts, keep engaging in these conversations, even as the chauffeur, but not the yes, how was your day? Fine. What'd you do? Nothing. If you know that on their IEP, there's a challenge with math, doing tests or reading in English or presentations in phys ed, you can address that directly. Hey, how do you have any presentations coming up for phys ed that you need some help with? And what is the subject? And what book are you reading in school? And making sure they understand that That IEP goes with them in every subject at every point in time that is helpful for them. So if they are struggling and you found out you didn't have time to finish a test and they didn't take advantage of the extra time because it wasn't offered to them, that's okay. That's okay. We have to make sure our kids know that they can ask for the extra time, or we get and we get in touch with the teacher and our kid together. Listen, we were supposed to have extra time. Can we have a redo? Can you eliminate what I didn't get to because I didn't finish because I didn't get the extra time? I mean, there's things to do, but we have to be asking the questions with our kid and really digging deep into what is their struggle and where they will excel. Like if phys ed is just their thing or art is just their thing, start with that. What did you create today? What was the best part of today? They will talk. They will talk. And if they're not talking directly to you, you can just be driving the kids home from school and get it from everybody. So I urge you to look at this transition. If your kid has an IEP, if they're on the spectrum, if they have ADHD, there's so many different diagnoses that would apply here where our kids just don't, one introduction and they're done. Our kids need repetition, 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 familiarity. They need to feel safe. In turn, then you feel safe. So I urge you to not brush this off. You're getting into the first week of May. Those transition plans should be getting done or on their way to getting done. This is the time, if you have not had a transition meeting, ask for a transition meeting. Oh my gosh, my allergies are so bad. Ask for a transition meeting. Let's set everyone up for success. Let's not wait until the middle of the term and you've got this kid who's full of anxiety, is stressing about everything, is totally overwhelmed with everything. They are coming from 7 or 8 years, possibly, in the exact same building with probably 60% of the people in that building they're familiar with and have been familiar. They've had 8 years of knowing exactly where to go, exactly how to get there, who to turn to for help. And now all of a sudden, all of this is happening. So let's move forward in being super proactive for them, get them on the path to success. Again, if you look on my website, CherylPankhurst.com, you will find this exact transition checklist with all the explanations of everything I've talked about and more. You can download it. It's yours. Make your notes. Check it off as you get things done. There's other free resources in there, and there's also a calendar link to book a call with me. It's totally complimentary just to see how I can help you and in what way I can help you. So let's stay one step ahead, and it's going to make all the difference in the world for your kid. Your kid's not going to remember all the stuff we're talking about. The only thing they're going to remember the most is how they felt walking in the door of that school on the very first day of school. And that is going to be the determination of how the next few days, the next few weeks, the next few months may go for them. So let's set it up. Thanks for listening to WTF. Have a beautiful Friday, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.